This video is made possible thanks to our Patreons. If you would like to have your story turned into a video or a story written especially for you, be sure to take a look. Enjoy. Grace stood before her mirror, carefully applying mascara. Her evening routine was interrupted by a soft knock at the door. "Come in," she called, not looking away from her reflection. The door creaked open slowly, revealing John's hesitant face. He hovered in the doorway, fidgeting with the hem of his t-shirt. Grace glanced at him through the mirror. "What's up, bro?" John's eyes darted around the room, landing briefly on a flowing skirt draped over a chair before quickly looking away. He cleared his throat. Can I ask you something?" Sensing his unease, Grace set down her mascara and turned to face him fully. "Of course. What's on your mind?" John stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. He paced a few steps, hands shoved deep in his pockets. "It's kind of weird." "Hey," Grace said gently. "You know you can talk to me about anything, right?" John nodded, taking a deep breath. "I've been curious about something lately." His gaze drifted back to the skirt. Grace followed his line of sight, realization dawning. "Oh," she said softly. "Are you interested in trying on some different clothes?" John's cheeks flushed. "Maybe. I don't know. It's stupid. Forget I said anything." "It's not stupid at all," Grace assured him. She crossed the room and picked up the skirt, holding it out to him. "Would you like to try it on?" John's eyes widened. "Really? You wouldn't think it's weird?" Grace shook her head, smiling. "Not at all. If you're curious, I'd be happy to help." John reached out tentatively, running his fingers over the soft fabric. I think I'd like that." "Great," Grace beamed. "Let's see what else we can find for you to try on." She threw open her closet doors, rifling through hangers. "How about this?" She held up a floral sundress. John's eyes lit up. "That one's really pretty." "It'll look amazing on you," Grace assured him. She handed him the dress and the skirt. "Why don't you change in the bathroom? Take your time and come out when you're ready." John nodded, clutching the clothes to his chest as he slipped into the adjoining bathroom. Grace busied herself picking out a few more outfits, laying them carefully on the bed. Several minutes passed before John's voice called out hesitantly. "Grace? I'm not sure about this." "That's okay," she replied. "You don't have to come out if you're not comfortable, but I promise there's nothing to be nervous about. It's just us here." There was a long pause, then the bathroom door slowly opened. John stepped out, tugging self-consciously at the hem of the sundress. Grace's face broke into a warm smile. "You look beautiful." John's posture relaxed slightly. "Really? It doesn't look silly?" "Not at all," Grace assured him. "How does it feel?" John smoothed his hands over the fabric, a small smile playing at his lips. "It's nice, soft. I like how it moves." "That's great," Grace enthused. "Want to try walking around a bit, maybe give us a little twirl?" John laughed nervously but took a few tentative steps. The skirt of the dress swished around his legs. Encouraged by Grace's supportive nods, he spun in a slow circle, the fabric billowing out around him. "Perfect," Grace clapped. "You're a natural. Want to try on something else?" John nodded eagerly. "Can I?" "Of course!" Grace gestured to the outfits on the bed. "Take your pick." For the next hour, John tried on various skirts, dresses, and blouses. With each new outfit, he grew more confident, striking playful poses and twirling with abandon. Grace offered tips on how to walk in heels and showed him different ways to style his hair. Grace pulled out a silk blouse in deep emerald green. "This would look stunning with your complexion." John ran his fingers over the smooth fabric, marveling at how it caught the light. "It's so different from cotton t-shirts. Try it on with this pencil skirt." Grace handed him a black-fitted skirt. "The contrast will be perfect." In the bathroom, John slipped into the new outfit. The silk felt cool against his skin. draping in ways his usual clothes never did. The skirt hugged his hips, making him feel sleek and refined. "How do you walk in this?" He took small steps, getting used to the tighter fit. Grace demonstrated proper posture. "Keep your back straight, shoulders back. Small steps are good. It's meant to make you feel elegant." John copied her movements, gaining confidence with each step. He caught his reflection in the mirror and paused, struck by how different he looked. The blouse's deep color made his eyes pop, while the skirt's clean lines transformed his silhouette. "I never knew clothes could feel like this," he admitted, smoothing the fabric. "Everything's so intentional. That's what I love about fashion." Grace adjusted the blouse's collar. Each piece tells a story, creates a mood. They moved on to a cream sweater dress with a cowl neck. The soft knit fabric felt like a warm hug, and John found himself swaying slightly, enjoying how it moved with him. "Can you show me how to match colors better?" He gestured to Grace's closet. "Like, how do you know what goes together?" Grace pulled out several pieces, explaining color theory and fabric combinations. John absorbed every detail, asking questions about patterns and textures. His initial nervousness had transformed into genuine enthusiasm. "This one's my favorite so far." He twirled in a navy blue wrap dress. "It feels right, like I'm still me, just more." Grace beamed at his growing confidence. "That's exactly what good clothes should do, help you express who you are." John nodded, still watching his reflection. "I get it now. Why you spend so much time picking out outfits? It's not just about looking nice, it's about feeling like yourself." Grace's eyes lit up at John's newfound enthusiasm. "You've got it. And you know what? Since you're loving this so much, why don't we take it a step further?" John tilted his head, curiosity piqued. "What do you mean?" "Well, clothes are just one part of the equation. How about we experiment with hair and makeup too? Really complete the look." John's eyes widened, a mix of excitement and nervousness flashing across his face. I'd like that, but I don't know the first thing about any of that stuff." Grace grinned, already moving towards her vanity. "That's what a sister is for. Come on, sit down here." John settled into the chair, watching as Grace gathered an array of brushes, palettes, and mysterious tubes. She draped a towel over his shoulders to protect the dress. "Okay, first things first. Skincare," Grace announced, pulling out a bottle of cleanser. "You always want to start with a clean canvas." She guided John through a simple routine, explaining each step. The cool sensation of the cleanser and moisturizer felt foreign but pleasant on his skin. "Now, foundation," Grace said, holding up a bottle. "This evens out your skin tone and creates a smooth base for everything else." She demonstrated how to apply it, then handed John the sponge. "Your turn. Start in the center and blend outwards." John's first attempts were hesitant, but under Grace's patient guidance, he soon got the hang of it. The transformation was subtle but noticeable. His skin looked more even, with a soft glow. "Wow," he murmured, leaning closer to the mirror. "It's like an Instagram filter, but in real life." Grace laughed. "Exactly! Now, let's move on to eyes. With your coloring, I think a soft brown smoky eye would look amazing." She showed John how to apply eyeshadow, explaining the differences between matte and shimmer finishes. His hand shook slightly as he attempted to recreate her techniques, but Grace was quick to offer encouragement. "Don't worry if it's not perfect," she assured him. "Makeup is all about practice and finding what works for you. Besides, a little imperfection can add character." Next came eyeliner, which proved to be John's biggest challenge yet. His first attempt left him with a wobbly line that veered off course. "Oops," he chuckled, reaching for a makeup wipe. "No worries," Grace said. "Eyeliner is notoriously tricky. Here's a tip. Rest your elbow on the table for more stability." With this advice, John's second attempt was much more successful. The thin black line made his eyes look bigger, more defined. "Now for the fun part, mascara." Grace demonstrated the proper technique. Open your mouth wide when you apply it. It helps prevent you from blinking. John followed her instructions, marveling at how much longer and fuller his lashes looked with just a few swipes. This is kind of addictive, he admitted, batting his eyes at his reflection. Tell me about it, Grace laughed. Okay, let's add some color to those cheeks. She showed him how to apply blush, emphasizing the importance of blending. You want it to look like a natural flush, not like you're auditioning for the circus. John nodded seriously, carefully sweeping the brush across his cheekbones. The soft pink added a healthy glow to his complexion. Last but not least, lips. Grace held up several lipstick options. What do you think? Bold red or subtle pink? John hesitated, then pointed to a deep berry shade. How about that one? Ooh, excellent choice, Grace approved. She demonstrated how to apply it, then handed John the tube. Remember to blot after. It helps set the color and prevent transfer. John pressed his lips together, then smiled at his reflection. The rich color made his whole face come alive. I can't believe that's me, he whispered, turning his head to see different angles. The person in the mirror looked familiar yet transformed, softer, more polished with a hint of glamour. Grace squeezed his shoulder. You look incredible. But the best part is how confident you seem. That's what really makes a look work. John nodded, still captivated by his reflection. I feel pretty. Is that weird to say? Not at all, Grace assured him. Everyone deserves to feel pretty sometimes. She stepped back, surveying her handiwork. Now, there's just one more thing to complete the transformation. How do you feel about trying a different hairstyle? John ran a hand through his short locks. Can we do much with this length? You'd be surprised. Grace rummaged through a drawer, pulling out various clips and accessories. We might not be able to do elaborate updos, but we can definitely add some flair. She started by showing John how to use a texturizing spray to add volume and tousled waves to his hair. The product made his usually straight locks look effortlessly beachy. Now, let's try some accessories. Grace held up a thin headband adorned with delicate flowers. This will add a feminine touch without being too over the top. She demonstrated how to put it on, angling it slightly to one side. The effect was subtle but charming, framing John's face beautifully. Oh, I like that, John said, touching the flowers gently. It's like a crown, but softer. Grace beamed. Exactly. Now, let's try something a bit bolder. She produced a selection of colorful hair clips and showed John how to use them to create different looks. They experimented with pulling back one side of his hair, creating a faux side sweep, and even attempted a simplified version of a French braid along his hairline. The key is to not overthink it, Grace advised as John fumbled with a particularly tricky clip. Sometimes the most effortless-looking styles take the most effort, but other times a quick, messy updo can look amazing. As they played with different styles, Grace shared tips on hair care and maintenance. If you decide you want to grow it out, you'll need to invest in some good conditioner. And don't forget heat protectant if you use styling tools. John nodded, absorbing every detail. I never realized there was so much to learn about all this. It can be overwhelming at first, Grace admitted, but it's also really fun once you get the hang of it. And remember, there are no hard rules. It's all about expressing yourself. After trying several styles, they settled on a look that incorporated a few small, glittery clips arranged in a constellation-like pattern on one side of John's head. The effect was whimsical yet elegant, complementing the rest of his makeup perfectly. There, Grace said, stepping back to admire their handiwork. What do you think? John turned his head from side to side, taking in the full effect. The person in the mirror looked polished, feminine, and undeniably beautiful. But more than that, there was a sparkle in his eyes, a confidence in his posture that hadn't been there before. I love it, he said softly. I feel like I'm seeing a part of myself I never knew existed. John stood up, smoothing down the dress he was wearing. So, what now? I mean, I look the part, but I'm not sure I know how to be this person. Grace smiled encouragingly. Want to work on some feminine mannerisms? John nodded eagerly. Yes, please. Where do we start? Let's begin with walking, Grace suggested. The key is to lead with your hips, not your shoulders. It creates a more fluid, graceful movement. She demonstrated, gliding across the room with smooth, swaying steps. John watched intently, then attempted to mimic her movements. His first tries were awkward, his steps too exaggerated. Grace adjusted his posture gently. Try to relax your upper body a bit. Think of it as a gentle sway, not a dramatic swing. John took a deep breath, consciously relaxing his shoulders. He tried again, this time achieving a more natural-looking gait. That's it? Grace encouraged. Now let's add heels to the mix. She pulled out a pair of low pumps, helping John slip them on. Start with a lower heel until you get used to the change in balance. Take smaller steps, and remember to walk heel to toe. John wobbled slightly as he stood, gripping Grace's arm for support. How do you not fall over in these? Practice mostly, Grace laughed. But also core strength. Try to engage your abs as you walk. It helps with stability. They spent the next half hour practicing walking in various shoes, from flats to higher heels. John stumbled a few times, but quickly gained confidence, even managing a passable strut in a pair of strappy sandals. You're a natural, Grace praised. Now let's work on sitting. The key is to keep your knees together and angle them slightly to one side. She demonstrated, perching gracefully on the edge of the bed. John copied her, finding the position felt more stable in the skirt he was wearing. When you're wearing a shorter skirt, you can cross your legs at the ankle, Grace added. It's ladylike and helps maintain modesty. They practiced different sitting positions, with Grace offering tips on how to arrange skirts and dresses to avoid wrinkles or accidental exposure. Now for hand gestures, Grace continued. Feminine body language tends to be more fluid and open. Try to keep your movements soft and rounded, rather than sharp and angular. She showed John how to gesture while speaking, using graceful hand movements to emphasize points. They practiced common gestures like brushing hair behind an ear, adjusting jewelry, and even the classic hair flip. Remember, it's not about being overly dramatic, Grace advised. These movements should feel natural and unconscious. As the evening wore on, John's movements became more fluid, his mannerisms more natural. The initial awkwardness had given way to a genuine comfort in his new persona. The sun had begun to set. I guess I should change back now, he sighed, fingers trailing along the soft fabric. It's getting late. Grace nodded, helping him gather the borrowed clothes. You can keep the clips if you want. And that berry lipstick? It looks better on you anyway. Really? John's face lit up. He carefully tucked the items into his pocket, treating them like precious treasures. Thank you for all of this. He gestured vaguely at the scattered makeup products and clothes. For making it feel so normal. That's what sisters are for. Grace helped him remove the makeup with gentle strokes of a cleansing wipe. Besides, it was fun, like having a life-size dress-up doll. Back in his regular clothes, worn jeans and a faded t-shirt, John felt different. Not uncomfortable exactly, but as if his skin remembered the touch of silk and soft wool. Will you help me again sometime? He asked hopefully, hovering in the doorway. Anytime, Grace promised. Though maybe next time we can try some vintage looks. I have this amazing 50s style dress that would look incredible on you. John smiled, already imagining it. I'd like that. But life, as it often does, had other plans. The following week brought exams, and John buried himself in schoolwork. Months passed. The The lipstick migrated to the back of John's sock drawer, forgotten among old receipts and spare change. The hair clips lost their sparkle. Sometimes he would think about the event, of course, and trying dressing up again. But limited time and new hobbies made way. Life marching forward in its relentless way. Years later, sunlight streamed through the windows as preparations for their parents' silver wedding anniversary celebration kicked into high gear. The familiar scent of hairspray and perfume wafted from Grace's room, where she stood before her mirror in a flowing emerald dress. A flash of memory struck John as he passed by her doorway. Something about makeup and a navy dress, and laughter. The recollection felt hazy, dreamlike. "Hey, Grace?" He lingered in the doorway, watching her apply mascara with practiced strokes. "Remember that time years ago when we played dress-up?" Grace paused, mascara wand hovering midair. "Which time? We used to play dress-up all the time when we were kids." "No, I mean, it was different. I tried on some of your clothes. And you did my makeup?" The memory crystallized further as he spoke. "That navy wrap dress." "Oh my God, yes!" Grace's eyes lit up with recognition. "That was such a fun evening. You looked amazing in that dress. And those sparkly hair clips." John smiled, the details flowing back. "I completely forgot about that until just now. Seeing you getting ready reminded me." Grace's eyes sparkled with mischief as she lowered her mascara wand. The familiar warmth of nostalgia filled the room. "You know what?" John shifted his weight, fingers drumming against the doorframe. "I was wondering if maybe we could do that again? For old time's sake. I mean, with all of Val's fancy dresses here for the party." Grace burst into a wide grin. "Are you serious? That would be so much fun. Val's wardrobe is incredible. She's got all those designer pieces from her work events." "You think she'd be okay with it?" John's voice carried a mix of hope and uncertainty. "Please, Val's always going on about how fashion should be for everyone. Remember when she wrote that article about runway shows?" Grace turned back to the mirror, adding a final touch to her makeup. "We can talk to her at the party." The celebration was in full swing by early evening. Their parents' backyard had been transformed with twinkling lights and elegant table settings. The late summer air carried the scent of blooming jasmine. Valerie stood near the champagne fountain, resplendent in a vintage Dior gown. Her blonde hair swept into an elegant updo. She'd flown in from New York, especially for the anniversary, bringing with her an entire wardrobe of couture pieces. Grace caught John's eye and nodded subtly towards their older sister. They made their way over, champagne flutes in hand. "Val, the party's amazing!" Grace gushed, embracing her sister carefully to avoid wrinkling either of their dresses. "Mom and Dad deserve it," Valerie smiled, adjusting her pearl earrings. "Though I have to say, planning a wedding anniversary is much easier than covering Fashion Week." "Speaking of fashion," Grace glanced at John, who gave a slight nod. "We were thinking of having a little dress-up session tomorrow before you head back." Valerie's perfectly shaped eyebrows rose with interest. "All three of us?" "Yeah," John spoke up, his voice quiet but steady. "If that's okay, Grace and I did something similar a few years ago, and it was really fun." Understanding dawned in Valerie's eyes. Her expression softened into a warm smile. "I'd love that. Actually, I brought this gorgeous dress. I had no idea about this, John, but I think it would look stunning on you. The silhouette would be perfect." The tension in John's shoulders eased. "Really?" "Of course. Fashion is about expression, about feeling beautiful in your own skin." Valerie's eyes lit up with professional enthusiasm. "We could do a whole styling session." They spent the next hour discussing possibilities between greeting relatives and toasting their parents. Valerie's experience as a fashion editor added an extra layer of excitement to their plans. The next morning dawned bright and clear. Their parents had left for a post-anniversary brunch with friends, leaving the siblings with the house to themselves. Valerie's temporary bedroom looked like a luxury boutique had exploded inside it. Garment bags hung from every available surface, and several large suitcases spilled designer accessories across the floor. "Okay," Valerie said, unzipping a garment bag with practiced care. "Let's start with something classic." She pulled out a black sheath dress with intricate beading along the neckline. The fabric caught the light, creating subtle patterns across its surface. "Alexander McQueen," she explained, holding it up. "The construction is incredible. See how the seams create these beautiful lines?" John reached out to touch the fabric reverently. "It's so soft." "That's Duchess satin for you." Valerie smiled. "Want to try it on?" With Grace's help, John stepped into the dress. The fabric whispered against his skin as Valerie zipped it up, making small adjustments to ensure it fell properly. "The fit is actually perfect," Valerie mused, stepping back to assess. "You have great shoulders for this style. Grace, can you grab those Louboutins? The ones with the ankle strap?" Grace returned with a pair of gleaming black heels. John slipped them on, remembering their previous practice sessions as he found his balance. "Now for accessories." Valerie rummaged through one of her cases. "These pearl drops, I think, and maybe... yes, this vintage clutch." She helped John put on the earrings, then demonstrated how to hold the small beaded bag naturally. "The key to wearing designer pieces is confidence," she explained, guiding John to the full-length mirror. "The clothes should work for you, not the other way around." John stared at his reflection, barely recognizing himself. The dress transformed his figure, creating elegant lines and subtle curves. The pearls caught the light, drawing attention to his neck and collarbones. "This is..." he breathed, turning slightly to see different angles. "I feel incredible." "You look incredible," Grace agreed, adjusting one of the earrings. "Val, you've outdone yourself." "Oh, we're just getting started." Valerie grinned, already pulling out another garment bag. "Wait until you see the Valentino." The Valentino dress emerged from its protective bag in a cascade of emerald silk chiffon. Layers of delicate fabric floated through the air as Valerie held it up to the light. "This was from their spring collection," she explained, fingers tracing the intricate beadwork at the waist. "The way it moves is pure poetry." Grace helped John step out of the McQueen and into the new dress. The chiffon settled around him like water, each layer creating subtle variations in the deep green color. "The neckline is asymmetrical," Valerie pointed out, adjusting the drape. "It creates this beautiful line across the collarbone. Here, try these gold sandals with it." The heels were lower than the previous pair, with delicate straps that wound around the ankle. John found his footing more easily in these, the movement causing the dress to swirl elegantly around his legs. "For makeup with this one," Grace mused, opening her professional kit. "I'm thinking a gold smoky eye, something soft but dramatic." She guided John to sit at the vanity, selecting brushes and palettes with practiced precision. "Close your eyes for me." The brush swept across his lids with gentle strokes. Grace built up layers of color. Warm bronze, rich gold, deep brown in the crease. She added definition, with a thin line of emerald eyeliner, making his eyes appear larger and more luminous. "The key with this look is blending," she explained, working with a fluffy brush. "We want the colors to melt into each other seamlessly." Valerie watched with professional interest, occasionally offering suggestions from her experience with runway shows. "Try adding a bit more highlight in the inner corner. It'll make the eyes pop more." Grace nodded, dabbing a shimmering powder in the suggested spot. She followed with several coats of lengthening mascara, making John's lashes appear impossibly long and full. For lips, she studied the overall look critically. "Something neutral, but glossy, I think." "Val, do you have that Tom Ford shade you were wearing yesterday?" Valerie produced a sleek tube of lipstick in a warm color with subtle gold reflex. The formula glided on smoothly, adding the perfect finishing touch to the makeup look. Now for accessories, Valerie declared, diving back into her collection. She emerged with a pair of oversized gold chandelier earrings and a stack of delicate bangles. These are from a small designer in Paris. They'll complement the dress perfectly. The jewelry added movement and sound to every gesture, tiny crystals catching the light with each turn of John's head. The overall effect was ethereal, like something from a high-fashion editorial. "Try walking for us," Grace suggested, adjusting the dress's trailing hem. John stood, feeling the weight of the fabric move with him. The chiffon layers created a mesmerizing effect as he walked, each step revealing glimpses of the gold sandals beneath. "Beautiful!" Valerie clapped. "Now try sitting. Remember to arrange the skirt carefully." John practiced the sitting techniques with Grace, now made more complex by the flowing layers of fabric. He learned to gather the skirt slightly before sitting, allowing it to fall gracefully around him. "Ready for another?" Valerie asked, already reaching for the next garment bag. This one's a bit more daring. The three siblings spent hours exploring different combinations. A blue silk jumpsuit with wide leg pants and a plunging neckline, paired with crystal drop earrings and metallic sandals. A black velvet gown with a thigh-high slit, accessorized with a diamond choker and satin pumps. Grace demonstrated different techniques for each style: how to apply false lashes, create the perfect winged liner, contour for different lighting conditions. She showed John how to use different brushes and blending techniques, explaining the principles behind each step. Valerie contributed her expertise on movement and posture, teaching John how to carry himself in each distinct look. They experimented with various hairstyles too. The days following the dress-up session melted away as John returned to his college routine. Sitting through lectures, his mind kept drifting back to the swish of chiffon against his legs, the gentle weight of earrings, the transformative power of perfectly applied makeup. During his advanced chemistry lab, he caught himself admiring his lab partner's floral dress, noting how the fabric moved as she reached for equipment. The way she gracefully maneuvered around the lab tables in her low heels fascinated him. "Your measurements are off," she pointed out, peering at his notebook. "You seem distracted today." Heat crept up his neck. "Sorry, just thinking about some stuff." That feeling that he had years ago was now back in full swing. One evening, alone in his room, John stood before his mirror. The reflection showed his masculine features, the strong jaw, broad shoulders, the stubble he'd need to shave again soon. But in his mind's eye, he saw something different, someone different. "I want to be her," he whispered to his reflection. The words hung in the air, both terrifying and liberating. "I want to be a woman." His hand shook as he opened his laptop and typed, "Can I still transition male to female?" The search results overwhelmed him at first. Medical terms, hormone therapy, legal procedures, support groups. Later, his cursor hovered over the place order button on an online boutique. The cart contained a powder blue sundress, a few basic makeup items, and a padded bra. His heart raced as he entered his credit card information, double-checking that he'd selected delivery to an Amazon locker rather than his dorm. 3 days later, he retrieved the discreet package. Back in his room, he locked the door and carefully opened the box. The dress's fabric felt impossibly soft between his fingers. He slipped it on, the material floating around his thighs. The mirror reflected someone closer to who he wanted to be, but not quite there. YouTube became his nightly companion. He practiced makeup techniques repeatedly, washing his face and starting over until his hands steadied enough to draw a clean eyeliner wing. Foundation tricks helped soften his jawline, while contouring created the illusion of a more feminine nose. His hair grew past his ears, then to his shoulders. He told his roommate it was for a metal band he'd started. But alone, he'd practiced braiding it, following tutorial videos until his fingers learned the patterns. "You've got such thick hair," the campus hairdresser commented during a trim. "It's taking shape nicely." John smiled, watching blonde locks fall around his face in the salon mirror. "I'm thinking of growing it even longer." More packages arrived at the Amazon locker. A coral pink skater dress, a black pencil skirt with a white blouse, tights in various deniers. Each new item brought him closer to the vision in his mind. He started shaving his legs, learning through trial and error how to avoid nicks and razor burn. The first time he felt silk stockings slide up his smooth legs, tears welled in his eyes from the rightness of it. Shopping moved from online to cautious in-person ventures. He drove to malls in neighboring towns, where no one knew him. "Can I help you find anything?" a sales associate asked as he browsed dresses at Nordstrom. "I'm shopping for my girlfriend," he stammered, the practiced lie feeling bitter on his tongue. "We're about the same size." The associate smiled knowingly. "Well, this emerald wrap dress would be stunning. Would you like to try... would she like to try a size 12? His hands trembled as he accepted the dress. In the private sanctuary of the fitting room, he slipped it on. The cut emphasized his waist, while clever draping disguised broader shoulders. He stared at his reflection, imaging longer hair, more practiced makeup. "How did it work out?" the associate asked when he emerged. "Perfect," he smiled, heading to the register. "She'll love it." Grace texted regularly, sending links to makeup tutorials and fashion tips. Their shared secret created a deeper bond between them. "You should come visit," she wrote one day. "I've got some new techniques to show you, and Val left some amazing pieces she thought would suit you." His weekends began filling with shopping trips and practice sessions. Each new outfit felt like another step toward his true self. The male clothes in his closet migrated toward the back, replaced by an expanding collection of dresses, skirts, and blouses. Online purchases expanded to include breast forms, shapewear, and more sophisticated makeup. He learned to create different looks, natural for day, glamorous for evening. His technique improved until he could complete a full face of makeup in under 30 minutes. He practiced walking in heels in his room, then late at night in empty campus corridors. The click of stilettos against tile became a rhythm he internalized. His body began changing subtly through targeted exercises. Squats and hip thrusts reshaped his lower body. Careful diet choices helped soften his features. His dorm room transformed gradually. People around him didn't really understand it at first, but he kept making himself more and more feminine, and they slowly realized he wanted to be a girl. Sometimes resulting in insults, but for the most part, people just ignored it. One morning, preparing for class, he realized he hadn't worn male clothing in weeks. His wardrobe had completely transformed, all dresses, skirts, and feminine tops. Even his loungewear consisted of leggings and cute sweaters. "Your hair's getting so long," his mother commented during a video call. "Maybe time for a trim?" "I like it this way," he replied, running fingers through the silky strands that now reached mid-back. "It suits me." He learned to give himself manicures, practicing until he could paint perfect crescents of color. "Your nails always look so nice," a classmate commented during lab. "Where do you get them done?" "Oh, I do them myself," he replied, admiring the pale pink polish. "It's relaxing." At some point, he called his sister. "Grace." His voice trembled over the phone line. "Can you talk?" "Of course. What's on your mind?" "I've been doing research about transitioning, not just clothes and makeup anymore." He twisted a strand of long hair around his finger. "I want to start hormone therapy." A moment of silence stretched between them. "You're sure about this?" "More sure than I've ever been about anything." Tears welled up in his eyes. "And I want to use she and her pronouns. I can't keep pretending anymore." "Oh, honey." Grace's voice softened with understanding. "Have you picked out a name yet?" "Emma." I've been trying it out in my head for weeks. Emma, Grace repeated warmly. It suits you perfectly. Okay, first things first. Let me conference in Val. She knows some people who might help. Minutes later, Valerie joined the call. Emma explained everything again, her voice growing stronger with each telling. There's a clinic in the city, Valerie said after listening carefully. They specialize in transgender healthcare. One of my models goes there. She says they're amazing. Want me to make some calls? Would you? I don't even know where to start. Leave it to me, and Emma, I'm really proud of you. Thanks for watching! Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.